Hi everyone, and welcome back to Teachers Talk Money, where I help teachers master their money in order to give back to themselves. Today we are going to be talking about one of the big pillars of personal finance, something that is essential for everybody to have, and that is your emergency fund. When I was first learning about personal finance in college, I watched a lot of clickbaity YouTube videos that taught me to save $10,000 for my emergency fund. So I was of the opinion that everybody was supposed to have $10,000 for their emergency fund, no matter who they were or what their life situation was. I believe I've said this before on the channel, but if you haven't heard already, whenever somebody gives you an exact number as a benchmark for the amount of money you should have, whether that's invested, your emergency fund, a certain savings account, you need to question that. That is a red flag, because money is different wherever you are and is different depending on your situation. So for example, a $10,000 emergency fund for me in Washington, D.C. is going to be different than $10,000 for somebody in California or Minnesota or anywhere, because the cost of living everywhere is different, and also the nature of what I need to cover for emergencies is different than what it would be for somebody else. There are also other factors like the level of job security that somebody may or may not have that are going to affect how much you should have saved in your emergency fund. So I'm not going to tell you to have a $10,000 emergency fund today. We're going to get in how to calculate an emergency fund that specifically takes into account your situation. So some folks in the personal finance community believe that you should have more than enough for your situation, and some folks believe that having more than enough actually hurts your net worth, because if you don't have that money invested, you're not seeing as high of a rate of return. And both parties are right in this situation. It really just depends on your level of comfort and your risk tolerance. But the general agreed upon rule of thumb that allows a little bit of variation is that you should have 3 to 6 months of expenses as your emergency fund. So this means what you spend in 3 to 6 months, not what you take in. So not 3 months of what you would normally have as your income, just 3 months of what you need to live. My personal philosophy is that 3 months is a great benchmark for if you have a secure job. So in my case, as a teacher, I have a very secure job. There's no reason why I would lose my job anytime in the near future, and so 3 months is enough to make me feel secure. But I believe if you have a job that feels less secure for whatever reason, 6 months is a better bet. The reason for 3 months, even if you think you won't lose your job, is that it will cover a non-job loss emergency. So if your car breaks down, or you need to replace something in your house, or you have a medical bill you need to pay, a 3-month emergency fund would cover that, and it would also cover you for a little while in the unlikely case that you do lose your job. But if you have less job security, you would want to lean more towards the 6-month emergency fund, so that you have plenty of time to get back on your feet and cover any other non-job loss emergencies. So once you have determined the amount of months you want to cover, you need to figure out what your expenses are in a typical month, and then just multiply it by the number of months that you need to cover yourself for. The easiest way to determine this is if you already have a budget, which I hope all of you who have been watching me for a while have created a budget already. But if you do not, feel free to click the link below to get my pen and paper or my spreadsheet budget template. If you don't budget, you can still determine how much you need to save for an emergency fund by doing a little bit of extra work and looking at your bank statements for the past month. I will use my spending as an example to show you how much money I would determine for my emergency fund. So my rent is $900 a month, my utilities are $60, my car and renter's insurance is $86 a month, my phone bill is $45 a month, I estimate $110 a month for gas. I estimate $250 a month for groceries because I'm doing kind of bare bones expenses. Normally I would spend $200 a month in groceries, $200 a month in eating out, but if I'm in an emergency where I've lost my job, I will not be eating out. So $250 a month for food should cover everything. And then I gave myself a little buffer and added $200 a month for anything else that I might need to pay for. So when I total up all of these fairly bare bones monthly expenses, it gets me $1,651. So that is a pretty bare bones expense rate for the month. When I multiply that by 3, I get $4,953. So I actually am looking at about a $5,000 emergency fund, and that is what I determined and then saved for because I currently have my fully funded emergency fund. So that was just to show you guys the math. Now I want to answer some very common questions. And the first question that I get all the time, and that I certainly had when I started my journey, was, do I save my emergency fund first or do I pay off debt first? This is an excellent question, and it shows that you're thinking about all the right things if you do have debt. What I believe is that you should at least have some of your emergency fund saved before you focus on paying down debt. So you need to determine what is an amount that makes you feel fairly secure for the amount of time that it will take you to pay off your debt. So depending on your risk tolerance, aka what you're comfortable with, this could be deciding to save 1 month of bare bones expenses as your emergency fund, which I think is a great idea, because it would cover you for 1 month in the case of job loss, and it'll also cover other emergencies as they come up. If you aren't totally comfortable with that, because that doesn't feel like enough for you, another great benchmark might be 1 month of income. Or if you are still not quite comfortable with that, you may want to do a full 3 months of expenses as your emergency fund before you start focusing on aggressively paying off debt. I am a fan of getting rid of debt as fast as possible. When I started, I believe I built up my emergency fund at the same time as paying off debt, but my benchmark was probably closer to 1 month of income, and I certainly did not expect to fully fund my emergency fund while I was paying off debt. That was just me and my risk tolerance. It's going to be different for everyone. Just choose and set a designated amount to have first, and then focus your energy on paying off that debt. And the next question, which is related and equally as interesting and important, is, do I save my emergency fund first or do I invest first? And it's the same basic principle as before. You need to determine what you are comfortable with. So here's a couple benchmarks you can use. In my case, I was still comfortable having that 1 month of income while I invested, and then I simply put money each month into my investments and into my emergency fund. So I was kind of doing a little bit of both because I was very eager to start investing and take advantage of compound interest, and I felt a high level of job security. So for me, I was okay with completing my emergency fund while I was investing. Many other people will disagree, because if you've invested the money and an emergency comes up, you can't have that money back, it's gone. So it really, really depends on your risk tolerance and your perception of your own job security. Again, I would just choose a benchmark. Say, well, I want at least 2 months completely done. Focus on that before I start investing. Or maybe your benchmark is a full 3 to 6 month emergency fund. Either way, you need to focus on getting your emergency fund done, even if you're doing something else like paying down debt or investing at the same time. Your emergency fund is sort of like insurance on your money. Your emergency fund is really the foundation of your financial strategy. So even if you continue building it up at the same time as you're investing, it should still be a primary focus. And this is because we simply don't know what's going to happen next. I know that when coronavirus hit the USA and everything, everyone was panicking. And even though I didn't end up losing income as a result of that, it felt for a while like I very well could have. And that just really shows you that anything could happen, even if you do everything right and all goes to plan in your personal finances. You never know what's going to happen, and you never know when an emergency will come up. So you want to have the peace of mind that you can cover that. And that could be anything unexpected. It could be having to fly to a funeral for a faraway family member, something breaking, or you or someone you love getting sick. And to me, it was everything to know that no matter what happens, I can cover myself. I can cover a one-time emergency, and I can cover myself in the unlikely event that for some reason I lose income for 3 months. I have 3 months to get back on my feet. And honestly, nothing can replace that level of security. Having a fully funded emergency fund really gave me so much freedom in my finances to then take a little bit more risk in life and honestly just have peace of mind. If you are ready to start saving for an emergency fund, but you do not know how much you can save for it because you don't have a budget, please, please, please click the link below and get my free budget template. You can use either the pen and paper version or the spreadsheet version, but please get started because this will help you so much, giving you peace of mind with your money. Drop any questions you have about emergency funds below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in seeing more content about teacher money. Have an amazing day, you guys. Bye.